Gregory.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you, brother?
Good, man. Just living the dream, nightmare, whatever you want to call it.
Hey, nightmares are dreams.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. I never
Man.
thought of it that way, but yeah, it is.
Well, this has been a long time coming.
Yeah. We worked at this for a couple weeks now.
I would say about a month.
Yeah,
Time has flew.
yeah,
I forgot how I hit you up on TikTok, but we just had
yeah.
time zone issues, scheduling issues.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of this had to do with the time issue, man. I used to have Central Time or anything. Like I said, I think I was 2 hours behind on that thinking, and yeah, so we got it this time though, man. We're on time.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for this, dude. I like watching your videos on TikTok, dude. You're actually really good at instruments and stuff, dude.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've messed around with guitar and stuff since I was like 12. So I wish I could play that good to actually say that I've played for almost 30 years or over 30 years almost. But I mean, I had fun with it. I'm a good rhythm player, I guess. You know what I mean? I just had fun with it. Always have. Um, Played in odd different bands, like everything you can think of. So.
Yeah, you have a good voice too, man.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, dude. It's like battery acid and I don't know what, maybe a little bit of honey. I don't know what the hell you'd call it.
I kind of attribute it to like a metal blues voice.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I can dig that, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you have like the way you play is good, and then like the way you sing, it's like kind of raspy, but like it's hardcore.
Yeah. Well, I like to thank Marlboro cigarettes and Jim Beam for that for too many years of that. And now that I'm off the Jim Beam so much, I still smoke cigarettes, but yeah, it took a toll on my voice. I used to have a lot better voice when I was younger, 10, 15 years ago, but it just seems like after 40, man, the voice just started getting more crackly and, raw, but it is what it is, man. It's a badge of honor. So,
Hey, Father
where
Time is undefeated, huh?
this is true. This is true. Yeah, man.
Well, I really appreciate you taking your time out of the day to do this, dude. I know you got a busy life, dude.
That is what it is, man. Like I said, I wanted to make sure we got this taken care of today because we've been trying to plan it for so long. It was just like that. I'm gonna hell or high water make it today. So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
really appreciate you like watching my content on TikTok and stuff. I know we talked about it a little bit last night about it, and I,
yeah. I
I
mean,
did.
it's a righteous thing. Like I said, man, to be able to do this, you know what I mean. Like get your voice out there. You know what I mean. In some way, sense, or shape. You know what I mean. I feel bad that a lot of this, and I know the last 30, 40 years, they've tried to collect a lot of the World War II vets, get their perspective on stuff, Korean War, but social media didn't exist till, 25 years ago, technically. I mean, as far as availability, real access to it. So a lot of them guys by then had died, I mean, guys that could have, that maybe were homebound or something, so, doing this now as an OEF and OIF, theme, I think it's pretty cool, man. You know what I mean? Just to get it out there and be able to get some people's voices and stories and, you know, um, save that for future generations, whether they'll
Yeah,
be watching like Gregory 50, 60 years from now, not that exciting, but still, I think it's really cool, you know what I mean? Get people's voices heard. So,
yeah, and I think it's important to highlight here, man. Like, your episode is gonna be powerful because this war was so freaking long, and dude, I didn't know this like until about 4 episodes ago that we lost so many people that they started pulling like support MOSs for a lot of stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's basically what happened to you. We're gonna get into it here in a little bit, but like
yeah,
it was, dude. Like I don't know if you deployed. We'll get into it and everything like that during that
yeah.
What is it called? EFP or whatever the hell that thing is called. That IED thing. But
Oh,
dude, it's
vehicle borne
wild.
like PBIEDs, IEDs, all
Yeah,
that stuff. Yeah, that was real big, in '04. That that was one of the main killers. You know what I mean? Your chances of getting killed by a roadside bomb were probably more than actually getting into a skirmish or a firefight and getting shot up. You know what I mean? Because we'd fuck them up. I mean, if we went in there and they started planking at us, you know, we'd dump 50s on them, and you know, the fight was over. You know, you just but yeah, man. I mean, it is crazy how long that war, you know, ultimately
Yeah.
how long it took. You know.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I think talking about age difference here, I think what you said. I don't mean to point out that you're older than me, but
Oh no, no, it's all right, man. It's
you,
interesting, man. I'm 44.
yeah, I'm
Um,
32.
yeah, yeah, and I have a buddy I was in the Marines with. His son was maybe 3 or 4 when I first started pounding around with him, and you know, even his son saw that war. You know, the tail end of it. So it's
It's
just
ridiculous.
it's crazy to think that, you know, that something I did as a 23-year-old kid, you know, now my buddy's kid went and done it. You know, it's just pretty mind numbing, you know, to realize that, like how long that was drawn out and how much we
Yeah.
sacrificed to do it. So
It's crazy, like the two countries we were in too, right? Like we started off. A lot of people don't know that we started off in Afghanistan, right? Because of
yeah,
Osama bin Laden, and then for some reason, whatever people believe, I'm not gonna tell people how I believe.
weapons of mass destruction,
Yeah,
buddy.
weapons of mass
That was the
destruction.
ticket in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's just wild to hear about that stuff, and like you said, we need to document it now before we're too old and
yeah. Yep,
done, dude.
yep. You can't get the stories out. Yeah, yep. I agree.
And so United States Marine Corps, huh?
Yeah, yep, yep, yep. The old Uncle Sam's misguided children.
Yeah.
I decided to join. I was supposed to leave for the army in early 2000, and at the time I had a girlfriend, and it was drama, and I was like, oh, I don't need to go. You know what I mean? Fuck it, I ain't going. And then so then I dicked around here in central Pennsylvania. I was working for doing like telecommunications stuff, climbing telephone poles, and
Yeah.
that job sucked. I was so tired of like working in the heat with like creosote splinters in my arm, um, and then you know 9/11 happened, and it kind of just, you know, gave me, you know, a driven sense. You know, I mean, it actually seemed like there was something to do then. You know what I mean? Whereas before it was like, meh, you know, skill trade, but then, you know, 9/11 happened, and it was just like, well, shit, I got a purpose. You know, I mean, I got something I can do. You know,
What
so
what
that's just kind
so
of how I fell into it.
what initially pulled you like to the military though? Like was did you have like family that were in the military, or did you have like your father? Did you have like a rough upbringing or something like that, or no?
Nah, nah, man. Honestly, you know, like I had a pretty decent upbringing. I mean, of course, like a product of divorce and all that stuff. You know, like most of the Gen X and Gen Z kids were, but no, other than that, like my stepdad, he was in the army. Um, my great grandfather, or no, my grandfather, I'm sorry, my grandfather was in World War II. He was in the Aleutian Islands with the army. And then my grandfather on my mother's side, he was in the Marine Corps in Korea. So he got to experience Korea and all that. Um, so yeah, and that's really, I don't have much family in the military other than that. Um, you know, especially out of like my generation of my family, I'm the only one. I mean, my brother-in-law, who, you know, he married my sister, and she's 7. They're both 7 years younger than me. He was just getting ready to join the Marine Corps when I got out, um, in early 2006, and he was in. He did OEF. He went over to Afghanistan. I think he did 2 tours over there. So yeah, for my immediate family, man, just there ain't many of us that served in the military other than, you know, major conflicts. It seems.
Yeah,
So
it seems like it's a normal thing though. Like we're trying to find something to do. We're kind of bored with our lives, you know. But then at the same time, you're
yeah,
like, I don't know if I want to make that commitment, and you start.
yeah,
It's the thoughts that get you, right? Like the thoughts in your head. You got
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You know, that's, you know, like I don't know. Like I said before, I didn't. You know, when I was supposed to go to the army, I think I was going to be a 19 Delta or something. I was going to be a cavalry scout. had the paperwork signed and everything, and then I just ended up backing out of it. And I kind of kicked myself in the ass for that, kind of, but at the same time, it was like, well, I'm comfy. I like my home and my girlfriend, and but then, like I said, once 9/11 hit, it was like nothing could have held me down at that point. Like I was hitting the Marine Recruiter like the day after, still getting voicemail because I don't think they were allowed in the office for a couple of days after that or whatever, counterterrorism type stuff. But yeah, man, like at once 9/11 hit, it was like it was on, and I here in central Pennsylvania, I'm only uh, roughly like 45 minutes from where what was that, Flight 11 went down there in
Yeah.
Somerset, PA. And I remember whenever that came across the news that a plane hit over there, and I was just like, holy shit. Like it just felt like it hit too close to home, I guess, you know what I mean? And being young and not really taking everything in, it was just like, fuck it, man. I'm gonna sign up and go see what happens, see if, and so the rest is history, I guess.
I'm actually not totally aware of what you're talking about. Maybe,
What
yeah. Can you
the
elaborate, like what happened there?
So what was that? Was that flight 11 that went down in Somerset during 9/11? Was
Okay,
that flight 11? I'm
I
old
don't
and
know.
forgetful. But
Oh,
yeah, that was the plane that the passengers took over tried to take the cockpit and all that. Um, but yeah, that was just like I said, that was about 45 minutes west of me when
yep.
that
Flight
happened.
11. Flight 11. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, it just seemed like so close to home, like because when I was working. So before like I got out of the telephone climbing business and I was working at a lettuce factory, sanitizing machinery that cut lettuce. But it was an awesome gig at 20 years old, man. Like it was like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 12 hours a day, and then they paid you for 40 and you had the rest of the week off. So it was like the ultimate party shift, you know what I mean? But I got home that morning to my apartment that I was sharing with my buddy and his girlfriend, and I got in through the door and she was just like, Mike, she's like, a plane hit the towers or the tower at the time, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I thought, it's some shitty pilot, somebody couldn't fly. Maybe it's a Cessna, like I didn't really pay much attention. I just crawled on the couch and I was getting ready to crash out. And man, like when that second one hit, like I don't think I slept at all that day. Like as soon as I seen that second one hit, I was like, holy shit, like we're being attacked. Like something's
Yeah.
going down, and it just and like I said, I guess ultimately that's what was driving me to do something with my life. You know what I mean? I mean, in defense of the country or whatever you want to call that duty. So
Well, how old were you when the towers went down?
I was 20. So
Yeah.
9/11, 2001, I'd have been 20 years old. Yeah, I turned 21 in boot camp.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a pretty significant event to witness as a 20-year-old. Like I was
yeah,
seven or
yeah,
8 around that age, and I remember being in school, but you like I was in first grade, and like I remember being locked down in the cafeteria, but like you were like an adult, like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was just living in an apartment, drinking beers all the time, and just living like a heathen. You know what I mean? Wasn't really. You know what I mean? So, like I said, at that time before 9/11, it didn't have any purpose, man, other than to party and run with my friends, and just
yeah. Did you not try to go back to the Army recruiter, or you're like, nah, I'm gonna go to the Marines?
I figured I'd go hard at that point. Just the not that there's anything against the Army or Navy or Air Force. I don't know. It just seemed like I said, I thought of my grandfather a lot, and
Yeah,
it just happened to be the first number I found in the phone book, USMC recruiting, and I hit it and called. So,
yeah.
and like I said, that was
A lot of people during that time, like they're perceived like we this movies, right? That's like our best like reference of these things. So we're talking about
yeah.
like Full Metal Jacket, fucking
Yeah.
I don't know if Saving
Casualties of
Private Ryan.
War.
I don't know if Saving Private
What?
Ryan came out yet, but yeah.
I don't know if it did or not either. That's terrible, man. My memory's shit now. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but growing up, yeah, man, like without a doubt, Full Metal Jacket, was always because I remember even high school, I always had a shaved head and stocky, and all my buddies would be like, "Do it, man, do the pile," and I'd sit there and make that demented look he makes there. So I guess it was probably predestined, you know what I mean? I was probably supposed to do this anyhow. So, just but yeah, I mean that just like I said, that's just kind of my justification for that. Was I just, like I said, picked up a phone book and seen the recruiter and called, and a couple of days later he called me, and then by January I shipped out. So
Okay, so you're talking about like what maybe like a month after 9/11 happened is when you started getting into the process.
yeah, I would say it took a couple weeks until I was actually like signing in as a poolee and then all that, getting ready to go to MEPS. And I actually didn't have to go to the MEPS for the second butthole check because I was still covered from the time that I went for the Army originally, a year or so prior. So the only thing I really had to do was just go to the poolee program, prove that I could do the basic physical stuff, and then I went after shortly after that. It was whenever I got the date to go to MEPS and ship out. So flew me
Yeah.
down to South Carolina.
Did so I know in the Marines or in the Army you could pick your job. Did they not let you pick your job yet or anything like
Oh
that?
no, no, they did. I went in. So by the time I'd went in, my fiance at this point. Now I already had a fiance at this point. Not really officially yet, but we were kind of doing the
Talking about
talk.
it.
Yeah, because so automatically, it was like, well, I was going to go to the Army. I was going to do Scout and do this and that. But so, of course, the Marine Corps was like, well, I'm going to be grunt, infantry. And she talked the sense into me. She's just like, well, think about it. She's like, when you get back, what are you going to do around here? Like, and I thought, the only thing I really like to do other than that was wrench on cars. So I thought, well, I'll go be a mechanic. So I did, like, right off the bat, I got offered the 3521 slot. Um, and that's what I went in under contract for as a 3521 automotive mechanic. So
And what basic or boot camp did you end up going to? I know there's
Parris
two.
Island. So, yeah,
Oh,
Parris Island,
dude,
South Carolina. I think anything west of the Mississippi, anybody that lives west of the Mississippi has to go to San Diego.
yeah,
And I think for some reason I'm thinking I had a buddy that I was stationed with, and I think he was far enough on the corner of Texas that he did end up in going to Parris Island. But yeah, it's weird. It's the cutoff. It's like west of the Mississippi, I believe, is
yeah,
what the cutoff is.
yeah.
But yeah, so
So
that's where I went. I went.
so what are you thinking, man? Like, it's Paris Island, dude. Like,
I,
I've always wanted to go there, but I never had the opportunity to just go. But like,
I
what do
mean,
you
honestly,
what's it like?
it, it's humid as shit. I mean, now granted, I went in January and I graduated April. I think April 21st is when I graduated. But anyhow, like in the summertime, like right now, like getting into July, it would be brutal. Like, dude, your nuts would be tree frogging, and the gnats would be thick in your face. But it's beautiful down there. I mean, it has that kind of uh, swamp like atmosphere, and you got that Spanish moss that grows from the trees. And I always thought that looked cool. But when I got there in January, it was still, I mean, it's South Carolina, but it's still chilly. You know what I mean? It was cold enough that when we PT'd for most of the beginning, we always wore sweats and stuff, um, just because it was, kind of chilly.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it like the
but
movie?
uh, so like Full Metal Jacket, believe it or not, like even the boot camp scenes were filmed in England. But I'll
Uh-huh.
give Stanley Kubrick this: like he did do pretty good at making the appearance. I mean, because the rifle range sort of looks the point, from what the movie is and the O course and all that stuff. But even the barracks to some extent, do kind of model the barracks PI. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was an experience though, you know what I mean? Because I'd been down in North Carolina, I think, before. Hell, I'd even been to Florida, but I don't think I ever spent much time in South Carolina. So it was all new, And then of course, like I said, going to boot camp, that was brain melt right off the bat. So
Yeah. How did you like it? Like, was it a little challenging for you or anything like that? Because you said you were a bigger guy.
yeah, yeah. So I went in. I think I weighed two. I think I weighed 205 when I went in, and I was still able to do like the bare minimum. When I went in there, I think I could do like 5 or 6 pull ups, like the bare minimum run. 50 crunches, whatever the minimum crunches was. But like, dude, like I just, I just pushed myself. Like, I mean, I did get on the shit list of one of the heavy DIs early on, which is a good story. But by the time I got out of boot camp, I think I only dropped to 182. And like, dude, I was like, given my body frame, like I just looked sickly. You know what I mean? That's my one buddy always says, "Man, you look like you had like wasting disease or something, man." Like when you got home. Um, but I mean, even I think I bulked back up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And and man, once I got a little bit more body weight put on with my mask, dude, it was awesome, dude. I felt like a machine. Like good instead like doing the rope climbs hand over hand, instead of like I would just grab a rope in one hand, grab a rope in the other, and just pull my ass up there like that. It felt like a machine. And I think by the time I got out, um, I think I was up to 215 somewhere around there, but I was still like pretty good shape for the most part. Like I taped out, they couldn't touch me. You know what I mean? I was still able to pick up rank, pass my PFT, all that stuff. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, boot camp, man, it was just, it was definitely extreme. Like I said, I went in there not really physically the best as far as running and all that stuff. And by the time I got out, I mean, I was, it was just first class PFT. I was an animal. I felt, probably the best I'll ever felt in my life, was just getting that
Yeah.
and being in that shape, I mean, that mindset, the sir,
Yeah.
yes, sir mentality, and, just so,
And what
but
are they?
yeah,
What is the like the climate like? What are they telling y'all? Because oh one, you're talking about the towers falling. We're getting into Afghanistan. Like, what are they telling you guys? Are you like, hey,
at that,
we're going?
it's still really early on in there. Like, I know, I'm guessing, like, by that time, by like January '02, I don't think we had set foot in Afghanistan yet, but I know we were bombing the shit out of them at that point, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah,
they didn't really tell us much, man. Like we didn't get much word of the outside from them, nothing like that. I think they do that on purpose in a way. It'd be interesting if you ever talked to anybody that was, which I'm sure maybe you have, but just how if they were in boot camp whenever 9/11 happened, how that all went down. You know what I mean? If the drone instructors actually sat down and talked to them and told them anything, or if they kept them in the dark, I don't know. It's just,
yeah,
but I just don't remember them really telling us much. You know what I mean? Other than just saying, like, when you get out of here, chances are you guys are going to go to war. Or you're going to, and then call you insults and tell you not to get anybody killed. So that was, yeah.
yeah. The I think. Well, obviously, they went to Afghanistan. For people that are watching that don't know, they went to Afghanistan to get Osama bin Laden, and it was mainly like a special operations push. Because the Battle of Tora Bora, and
Yeah.
and they didn't start getting I from what I recall of everybody that I've had on so far, they didn't start getting like major conventional units like probably like late '02.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was crazy, man. Like I mean, people didn't know what was going on. It's a pretty scary event. But
Yeah.
you need Congress to declare war on a country. So that's why they were saying, hey, let's send special operators there. So that way, if we have a conventional army or like the Marine Division there, that's actual war compared to what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, like I said, just it was pretty quiet. They didn't really tell us a whole much. Yeah. Just push us to get through training, and then once we got out, of course, you go through like combat training and all that before you go to your um, actually occupational classes or school wherever you go. And of course, some guys, it was always kind of just the same because I think it's the same mentality then. They didn't really know what was going on in mid 2002. So they would just say that's pretty much the same thing. Like, make sure you pay attention to what we're teaching you. This could save your life some days, save your buddy,
yeah,
So it was never
yeah,
really a lot of like information of the world or what the Marine Corps was doing about it all, but like just pushing you and saying, hey, make sure what we teach you, you learn and you retain it and keep it. And,
yeah.
you know,
So how
but
long was your first initial contract and everything like that?
My initial contract was 4 years, so I went in and like I said, I think it was January 21st or 22nd. I went in January 22nd of '02, and my enlistment was over January 21st. Well, technically the 22nd, but as of 11:59 on January 21st, my contract was done. So 4 straight years, and that was it.
Yeah.
Um,
So when you go to the school to be a mechanic, what vehicle are you like? Because I know the Marines are very specific in like their jobs and stuff like that. Did you have a specific like vehicle you're gonna
yeah.
work on?
So you go to Lejeune after boot camp for your MCT, Marine Combat Training, whatever.
Yeah.
After that, whereas some guys were going to Fort Leonard Wood, some guys were going, wherever in Florida, wherever they were going. I just ended up going like 20 minutes up the road to Camp Johnson, which all they really taught was the Humvee, and at that time they were just getting the 7-ton in, and the 7-ton truck. A lot of that wasn't even hands on. It was like simulators, like sitting in a fake cab. Now we did get to drive one around a little bit, just to operate it and see how it worked. But a lot of it was just the mechanics of it and fixing it.
Yeah.
And half the instructors had just got out of class for this thing, so it was kind of a cluster. You know what I mean? But that was all I learned at Johnson. I eventually got certified to work on the crash fire rescue trucks they use called the P19, which that changed my occupational specialty to a 3525. And then I got to go up to Bridgeport, California at the end of my enlistment for cold weather survival training. And I ended up getting pulled out of most of that to go help their shop because they didn't have enough mechanics to keep the tracked vehicles running. So I went up there all excited to do, cold weather survival training, and ended up working on damn tracked vehicles because they didn't have enough mechanics to keep their fleet running. So, but it was
Yeah.
cool, man. Semper Gumby, you're just flexible and you do whatever they tell you to do. So,
Yeah. How was like when where's your first station at? Like your first unit?
29 Palms, California, the Stumps is where
That
I got
sucks.
sent.
That sucks.
Yeah, no shit. Like I asked for West Coast because I was thinking, well, when my grandfather was in, like my mom was born in Honolulu because he was stationed in Hawaii at the time. All my aunts and uncles were born in San Diego, around that area because he was stationed in San Diego. So I thought, man, West Coast, man, this is gonna be awesome. And I got my orders that day after motor T school, and I was like looking at the paper at the code, and I was like, what is this? And the admin clerk looks at it. He's like, oh, 29 Palms. And I was like, fuck. Because everybody that I'd ever talked to, like any of the instructors or, whoever, senior Marines, are always like, oh, I hope you don't get stuck in 29 Palms. That place sucks. But it is what it is, man. I like I said, that's where I got stationed. Um, I spent a lot of time there. Um, Yuma, Arizona. Between Yuma, Arizona, and 29 Palms is pretty much where I always was. I mean, we were always doing desert warfare training, CAX exercises, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
what time frame are you arriving to 29 Palms? Like what month?
so, so refer back to the 7-ton comment about how the instructors were just getting out of classes and yada yada. Dude, I was in the Marine Corps for almost 11 months, I think, before I ever got orders to actually go to 29 Palms. So,
Damn.
almost a year of my Marine Corps time was spent just informing, waiting for classes to pick up, waiting for, so yeah. So by the time I got 29 Palms, it was around, I got like a 10 or 15-day block leave period. And I think by the time I went out there, it was right before Christmas. My
Oh, three.
wife, by now I was married, and my wife and me drove from here in central Pennsylvania clear to 29 Palms using a Rand McNally road map like a bunch of fucking modern pirates because, GPS and all that stuff still wasn't around.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a good time. But yeah, so that would put me, like I said, that put me out in 29 Palms around December of '02.
Oh, two. Wow, dude. That's a long, long time. Like
Yeah.
just kind of sitting around and you're like,
Yep. Yeah, we did a lot of floor sweeping, a lot of mopping, a lot of picking up cigarette butts. It was a pretty boring, uneventful 11 months of my initial career. It was pretty boring. So
Do you know how do you know how like long it usually is before they put in the 7 ton? Like I don't even know what a 7 ton is, so like I don't.
7 tons, nothing but like a glorified deuce and a half, basically. I mean, you're talking about something that's a 7 ton truck that has an advanced pneumatic system in it, the electronic capabilities like push button 4-wheel drive and all that shit that we never had in like the 5 tons or deuce and a halves. But I mean, they were used for a little bit of everything. They were cargo carriers, troop carriers.
Yeah,
They had flatbed models that could haul Conex boxes, that type of shit, tri walls.
yeah,
So a little bit of everything, multi vehicle.
yeah. What is the unit like when you get there? Like when you first in process and they tell you, hey, you're. I don't really know how the Marine structure works, but like a battalion, like are you gonna go to
Yeah.
like a battalion?
So I got to California, out to 29 Palms, stayed at the hotel the night I got out there. I think I checked in like a day early because there wasn't shit else to do, and I was just like, we'll just get this over with, whatever. But I ended up checking in, um, and I got checked in with MWSS 374, which is Marine Wing Support Squadron 374. Which we had like 373 was in not San Diego, maybe Yuma. I can't remember. I know like 371. One of them's over here at Cherry Point, North Carolina. There's like four. There was four. Now MWSS 374 is now disbanded. I think like 2-3 years ago they disbanded it,
Yeah,
and they had a big ceremony out there and stuff. So what my unit was initially, what we did was support squadron. We were doing all the logistics, whether that was supply, trucks, troop movement, all that stuff for the CAX exercises that were going on out in 29 Palms. So, like, if grunt units came in and stuff, we were hauling them around and taking stuff out to them out to the airfield. We are also we are like maintaining the airfield at this point too, which there wasn't a lot of action out of 29 Palms as far as I mean, we'd have fighters land down every once in a while, C-130, shit like that, but it was never like super active, like something where you always had to be ready for somebody coming in. It
yeah,
was pretty boring. Like I said, a majority of what we did in the beginning, excuse me, was pretty much just support, like supporting training or supporting the airfield. But
yeah,
yeah, so I got to the unit and got checked in, and the one sergeant that I'd met with, he took me out to the Motor T compound, and it was kind of ragtag, man. At that point, like it was just, I think I just hit at that sweet spot where a lot of guys that had already pretty much checked out, their 4 years were up, and it was just because I bet you maybe like 15, 20 people total in the entire platoon. Um, and after I got there, man, people just started showing up left and right to where we got up to maybe between Motor T drivers and Motor T mechanics, probably 60 of us or so. So it really bumped up in the months after I got there, as far as getting manpower.
yeah.
So
So what? So during this time, like it's January like '03, like the invasion of Iraq is happening and stuff like that. And
mhm.
are you guys say you're doing like desert warfare? Is that because of what's going on in Iraq?
Yeah, a lot of the now, like I said, that training area had been used for decades before I got there. For I'm guessing pretty much desert warfare type stuff, mortar training, tank training, that kind of stuff too. But yeah, so by the time I got there, like yeah, they were really pumping up like the training and stuff. So we were taking care of a lot of units coming in, making sure they had their grub, their chow, their whatever. You know what I mean? Like all of us. I mean, I'm talking like all the support elements. Engineers, the logistics crew that does all the gear and stuff. It was like I said, it was a really big endeavor trying to babysit and take care of these units that would come in to train.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
how are you feeling at this point in your Marine? You're like you're in, you're dealing with the actual like how the real MarineCorps.com works, So
So I was kind of bummed out, to tell you the truth, because like what we were non-deployable. Like when I got to that unit, that was the first thing they said. Well, man, you lucked out, man. That we don't deploy. We're only here for support, and we don't. And I was like, kind of like, well, shit, man. That kind of like ruins the whole reason I joined the Marine Corps. Like, instead of getting stuck in a grunt unit or getting stuck at least an LAV unit or something, I got stuck in like a non-deployable unit. And so I was kind of bummed out by that point, because I thought I was going to spend my entire enlistment like just fixing trucks and
doing log pack.
just doing very boring shit again for the remaining of my 3 years. But it was towards the end of '03. I think it would have been around Thanksgiving of '03, so November now. We got a new commanding officer. Um, his name was Dave Leppelmeyer, the colonel, and he was a cool dude. Like when he got there, he said they said that we're undeployable. He said bullshit. He said we're going to be deployed. And I thought, I mean, by that time with officers, you're just kind of like, I mean, they're just saying that to improve morale or something. But he actually was able to get us deployed. That around November or so, they came around and said, hey, we're shipping out in February of '04. So, make sure, that's when they started tossing out gear lists and living wills, all that shit, started flowing. So it happened real fast. I mean, you figure November to February, three and a half, 4 months, we were gone. So that happened real quick. Like I said, it went from just a training environment, boring, doing nothing, to like, hey, get your bags packed, make sure you see bags, and so that's how that came about. I don't know how he did it, but he worked it out to where we were able to go.
What's up, everyone? I just want to hop on here real quick and give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Fleming's Cleaning. Go ahead and use code word GWAT13 for 10% off your next residential or commercial cleaning. Also, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so, go ahead and hit Spotify up and follow there if you like to listen to podcasts on the road. Also, go ahead and follow our major socials on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at the GWAT Goons. Share this content, please. And with that, let's get back into the episode.
Go over to Iraq. So.
And you guys knew right away you were going to go to Iraq. They didn't float Afghanistan
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Right off the bat, like it was, they already knew it was going to be in the Sunni Triangle. They kept saying, well, we're going by where they call IED Alley and blah, 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 blah. And so they knew. I mean, they evidently had it worked out. When we did deploy, we ended up relieving the 82nd Airborne. So they were already there doing pretty much the same thing. We just came to replace them whenever they were cycling back to the real world.
So what are you guys hearing like from about Iraq?
Well, yeah, at that time, so the initial invasion was already over with, and they were actually starting to do operations over there. And really, I mean, that was the big thing, was just like IEDs. Like that's all you kept hearing about. I mean, you'd hear about sporadic firefights, and you'd see stuff on the news with insurgents and stuff. But a lot of the times, I mean, that's the entire time they would get. I don't know who exactly, MPs, EOD special stuff, to like give us classes, telling us how to watch for stuff along the road, watch for wires on bridges, just so like that was the big thing moving up to that point, was like everything we knew was like, our chances are of getting bombed are probably more, prevalent than that of getting into a firefight or getting, which I mean, that did honestly, I mean, that proved true for most of my time over there. I mean, it just, a lot of the stuff that happened over there was either mortars or IEDs. I mean, it was nonstop in '04.
Yeah.
So.
And so how are you preparing like your family for something like this is going to happen? Because the media only shows like a certain amount of what's going on over there, and
Yeah,
it's not the internet is not as prevalent obviously then as it is
yeah.
now. And you're what, 22 years old when you leave?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn 23 in March of '04. So yeah, so I'm in my
Yeah.
late 22.
So how are you preparing like
Um,
your wife, like a
uh,
kid?
and it came at a crazy time because she had just gotten pregnant. Um, my mom was going through a lot of health stuff, so I had to call her and tell her about it, and tell her I was deploying. And as far as my wife, she kind of had it figured out to where she would just go back home while I was while I was over there, and just to be here with her mom on Pennsylvania side of things and close to my mom. So like I said, this is all in like a matter of 4 months. So it was real quick, you know what I mean? Like, and I told my dad, I called him and told him, and he was moping around like, "Oh, I told you you shouldn't have joined the military." It's like,
Yeah.
what do you do, dude? Like, I'm just telling you what I know. Like,
Yeah, it's typical parent stuff. Like I feel like if my kid would join the military and they're like the whole freaking Israel and Iran thing was happening, and my kid decided to join the military. I'm like, see, you stupid, you should have done it.
I told you. And that's what
So
it really was. Like I said, that was the biggest thing with that was, like I said, I was just trying to get her set up to get back here, making sure that like all my uh, what do you call it, like my insurance and stuff was set up for her over here.
yeah,
Um, and that was it. I mean, it was quick. That 4 months, I don't remember much. I mean, it was a real flash. I mean, between trying to gear up and pack up our shit, get trucks from Barstow and get trucks back over to our way, fix them up to get ready to leave. And
yeah.
it was chaos for 4 months. No sleep and chaos is all it was.
So before you get
Uh,
into Iraq, where do you guys stop over at? Do you remember?
we flew out of Barstow on a C-17. We refueled somewhere over Maine, and then we landed in, I think it was Ramstein, Germany.
Right.
Hit Germany, and then from Germany, I can't remember if I want to say we stayed in that C-17 and made it clear to. Oh shoot, I'm trying to think where that is in Kuwait. Um, Man, it's been too long.
Yeah, you were in Kuwait, right?
Um, yeah, we stopped in Kuwait because all our trucks, because we were relieving the army unit, we had no vehicles over there. So we had to wait in Kuwait for oh, probably 3 weeks almost till our trucks got off ship at the Kuwaiti port. And then when they bust us down to the Kuwaiti port, we got all our trucks, LVSs, 7 tons, everything, and worked them back up to. I wish I could think of the name of that camp in Kuwait, man. That was a shithole. I'm trying to think what the name of that was. Like, it ain't one of the ones you usually see. Like people talk about flying home, and you end up in where is it in Kuwait where you usually end up like waiting on a flight and stuff? It's not that bad. There's like little pizza shops and this kind of shit, but this wasn't nothing like that. We had a DFAC for food, a half-assed gym, and we were all just pretty much crammed up inside a concertina wire fence. I wish I could think of the name of it, but yeah. So that's where we that's where we got our trucks. We probably 3 weeks into it, so now we're almost pushing beginning of March when we finally left
Yeah, so
Kuwait.
you guys convoy from Kuwait there, right?
Yeah, yeah, we convoyed from Udari, Camp Udari. That's what it was called. Or Camp Udari was spelled like Udari, something like that. So we convoyed from Udari to Navstar, which I think Navstar was like right on the border of Iraq and Kuwait. And then from Navstar, we drove almost nonstop to Al Taqaddum. We did have one stopover at some small fob just to get fuel and some
Yeah.
whatever you want to call that, creature comforts for a night. But like I said, we only stayed there for maybe a combined 8 hours, and we were just driving again.
Hey, so are you
Uh,
guys like are you going as a battalion or a company, or how are y'all convoying over there?
yeah, so we did it as an entire unit, but we did it in I think 3 strings.
Yeah, like
meaning like,
different stops.
like engineers and so was in one string, motor T and so were in one string, and then the other one were in the other for a third. Um, and we didn't have MPs at that point. I think they were still getting to us because our unit in 29 Palms didn't have um, MP unit. So we were borrowing 373s, which they were out of San Diego, I believe, if I'm right. So we got there was I think one or two grunt trucks and Humvees, in the back and the front that that rode with us, gun trucks pretty much, just to escort us, help us through in case we got into something. God forbid, a bunch of Pogues got stuck in a firefight, didn't have somebody with common sense like, hey, how do you fire this 240 again? Like, so it was probably a good thing considering, um, but yeah, so that was how we got up there. Like I said, it was probably about 2.5 days of just mostly driving straight
Yeah,
through.
and that's terrible.
Um,
And we know
yeah, it
convoying.
was. It was shitty, dude.
Convoying is like
I
35 miles an hour too. So
and I have this story, man. I got to tell this story just so it's on personal record forever. So we were getting close to that fob I was telling you about. That one of the last stops we made to refuel. But this is like, I don't even know what time it was. I mean, it's zero dark 30. There's no light. You're just driving through desert. And I was out of snuff. I was out of cigarettes. The A driver didn't smoke. And of course, he was supposed to be awake. He's passed out sleeping. And I'm just like, and he's a sergeant. So, me as an E3, what am I going to say? But just keep driving. And I'm so exhausted. And then all of a sudden, like, man, like I'm in this happy place. Like, just I feel like happy and carefree. I can't explain it. It's just like happy and carefree. And like I'm dreaming, I guess. And I hear, hey asshole. And I'm like still stuck in this dream. Hey asshole. And I open my eyes and I look up the side of this truck that I'm in, and our gunny's up like hanging out of his Humvee. He's like, hey asshole. Like, so he was screaming it, but in my ear it just sounded like he was whispering to me. So like I'm like, oh my God, he's like, get the fuck back to the convoy. And I'm just like, the convoy's going this way, and I'm just driving this way out through the desert. So it was crazy, dude. Like just exhausted, had no
yeah,
nicotine, no caffeine. This was pre-rip it phase, so I had nothing. I mean, nothing but pure whatever
yeah,
endorphins and energy you had in your body. But yeah. So like I said, we made it through that miserable mess in about
dude.
2.5 days, I would say, and
Yeah,
then
I
made it
can.
up to House and caught
I
them.
know, I know exactly how you feel. Like the sleep deprivation will freaking kill you, though, man. It
It's
is.
crazy too, like just the way your mind reacts to stuff, like seeing stuff. It's yeah, sleep deprivation's a scary bitch, man. Like that's a scary place to be when you ain't got no sleep.
Yeah,
Scary place, man.
and then us, dude, we're not eating good. We're freaking, and we're surviving off like crappy water, crappy food, and some of us
Oh
are
yeah,
using nicotine, and it's like,
oh
dude, we're
yeah.
just not making it, man. We're not, dude. Hey, but
Uh,
they're like, we don't care, man. We're not gonna rotate you
yep,
out. You're still gonna drive 2 days
yep,
straight, dude.
yep. You're gonna drive 2 days straight and do everything we tell you to do with a smile. So yeah, that's how it rolled, man. Like I said, I remember that night we got into that camp, that fob. And dude, everybody's like trying to go get grub from this little DFAC and do this and that. I think there was like an actual like overhead shower type setup. People were trying to get showers. Dude, I climbed up on top of my truck and slept on the roof, man. I just slept. That's all I wanted to do was sleep, and I slept, man, the whole time. I didn't eat, didn't. I just wanted to sleep.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, and then like I said, then we made it up to Tacautum the next day,
yeah.
and finally set our feet down, I guess.
What is a Takatum like? What are you guys operating out of?
Real, real. So Tacautum's kind of like, I mean, everything's flat out there, so I don't know what you'd call this, like a plateau. It's kind of elevated, like from up where we're at, um, which Tacautum was one of Saddam's Royal Air Force bases.
Hmm.
But how it's set up, like I said, it's almost like a plateau. You can see the village of Chaldea down below us from a distance. You can see a lot of the times you can just see like the mosques through the trees and stuff, like the mosque, the tops of the mosques.
Yeah.
And then Habanaya was out. I guess would be to our south. Um, so, and that was far off too. We had Lake Tacottum right beside us, which is actually huge. Like I didn't realize how big it was until after years later I got on Google Earth and actually looked at it. I was like, holy shit! Like that thing is huge. Just didn't know it. You know what I mean? From just just being by the one side of it, how big it actually was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the way it's set up. The sand there is real puffy. Like you'd step in it, it just it was like powder. It wasn't even sand really. It was almost just like dirt and powder.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like I said, we'd relieved the 82nd Airborne, so they were pretty much boogieing to get out of there as soon as we got in. Um, and you do all your little dealings before you get out. You know what I mean? They tried, if they had like food and stuff that you couldn't get. They had something from stateside. They were selling it for like $20 a pop and this and that. Whatever it was. Just wheeling and dealing for their getting out of there. Uh, we always laugh because the one dude, he's like, "Man, you guys want some porno mags?" And we were like, "Yeah, how much?" And he's like, "Oh man, like $50. I got a whole box up." We were like, "Fuck yeah!" Everybody in the unit's putting their money together, like, "Yeah, dude, we got this box, and it was nothing but shit from like the '70s, like retro, fucking terrible stuff that But we were happy, but yeah, it was good time. Like I said, just that initial getting in there. Um, and I mean that bitch, like from the day we got there, like the night we got there to the night I left, like it was constant mortaring. Like I don't know if it was just us being up on that plateau made it easier for them to shoot from the towns or what. A lot of times they were doing it out of pickup trucks. But yeah, I mean, like, dude, the first night we were there, we had just like, exhausted, tired, trying to settle down for the night, get ready for the next day, and uh mortars were landing at the corner of the camp. And of course we think we're being overrun. So like there's idiots like me running around in like your silky green shorts and flak vest on and a helmet, and you're walking around like, what's going on? And the staff NCOs were coming out like, get the fuck back in the tents and lay down by the sandbags. So it was chaos. I mean, just everybody felt stupid after that. We were just kind of sitting there hunkered down, like, well, that was dumb, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the initial start of it, man. Like right in there, like just good old
But
Alta caught him.
yeah, like you know, you have a very unique situation too, right? Because like they pulled you to be an MP or something, right?
Yeah, that
So
wasn't like I said. That was probably I would say that was probably a month into my time there. We had just been fixing trucks at that point, and they came. We were using old airplane hangars, like big, giant concrete reinforced hangars, to work on trucks, and it was boring as shit. I mean, you get to listen to music and stuff, and everybody's joking around, but it's still just boring.
yeah,
And like I said, 3 or 4 weeks after being there in Tacottum, they came through. We had got our MPs at that point, but a lot of them had to go up towards the Syrian border. There was a camp called Korean Village up there, and there were several other FOBs that they had to kind of get chucked to. So they were really running low on guys there at Tacottum. Um, to do gate duty, helipad duty, anything like guarding the base, and then EOD security. Um, but they came through and told us that they were like, "Hey, we're looking for guys to volunteer," and I was just like, "I'm looking up and down the line. Nobody's really." So I threw my hand up, and then a couple other guys started throwing their hands up, and yeah, I spent a majority of the rest of my time doing that, which that was. I'm glad, you know what I mean, to actually get the leave base and actually, you know what I mean, be out in there and see it for what it is instead of being safe. Well, I mean, within reason, safe one side of on a base, where you're in a concrete bunker. If you're getting mortared, you just go in there and hunker down,
yeah,
and everything's fine. So it was kind of nice to be like, well, at least I'm going to do something. You know what I mean? See
yeah.
something, but
It's kind of like what you were talking about. Like, hey, I joined because of the terrorism thing, and you're like, hey, I get to go out and
yeah, yeah. So I went from being in a non-deployable unit to actually deploying, and then being able to actually, like I said, leave the base and go on convoys and EOD security. So it was like,
did y'all do
to me, it
patrols and
was
stuff like that?
yeah, yeah. So basically, we had this is like the early days of like the drones. We had a few drone landing strips out by Lake Tacodum, which, like I said, out in that backside of Tacodum, it's kind of Wild West. There's not really any military presence. So I guess, there was always that possibility that if somebody wanted to come in and sneak on base and cause harm, they could do it. But yeah, so we would do 8 hours of basically security, whether that was front gate, gate to the helo pad, whatever. It was just some kind of security element. We would do 8 hours of EOD call, meaning like if somebody was convoying in the area and came upon something they didn't know what it was, they would call our EOD, and then our EOD guys would load up their robot, and then we'd follow them out the gate and just provide security while they did their thing.
Yeah. So what was like your first or like event where you're like, oh wow, this is what Iraq is?
To be honest, man, like I feel pretty fortunate for not ever getting really dicked up out on a convoy. You know what I mean? Like we never ever like we might have had pop shots and stuff, but with our ROE, they said unless we were pinned down, cornered, or somebody had it, like you could actually see somebody physically with an RPG, that we weren't supposed to stop. Like our mission was to go cover EOD and then protect EOD and get back on base. And for the most part of that, man, that entire, I mean, we lost an MP. I wasn't on that trip that day. We lost an MP to an IED. They had called out. It was out by Fallujah, out near the Cloverleaf. They had called in a IED. A convoy got caught up and seen something, and we're like, nah, something ain't right here. So that string of EOD security had went out, followed EOD out. EOD got up there, set up perimeter, and here the IED that they were checking out wasn't even an IED. It was a fake IED, and the real one was several, whatever, 75 yards back. I don't know how far exactly. And it went off, and one MP, Jeff Burgess, got killed. And and that could have been any of us any day. I mean, it was just shitty how the cards played for that. So yeah, as far as convoying, man, I never, like I said, all them times going through towns, I never really ever got messed with,
Yeah.
for the most part. But let me go back to the mortars. My God, like I wasn't even with them for maybe a week or two, and we were guarding a helo pad. And that was where you could see, like I said, I think it was Chaldea was the name of the village. And I'd heard mortars walked in a million times at this point. Like I said, every day, over a dozen mortars every day, if not more. They'd walk them into us. And
Yeah.
that day, I was standing out there, and it was funny because I wasn't even technically an MP by MOS. And I had a kid that had just got out there, and he was an actual MP.
Yeah.
And he's like all nervous and like asked me about it. I'm like, dude, this is one of the easiest gigs. I was like, dude, you're out here like guarding the, I was like, you don't get messed with, man. This is cool. And it wasn't probably 15 minutes later, I was standing there, and I heard the whoosh. And it ain't even a whoosh, man. Like a mortar that close to you, it doesn't whoosh, it doesn't whistle, it screams. Like like they hadn't even walked him in. I mean, that was the first shot they took at us that day. But like I said, in my memory, it was just as soon as I heard it, that scream, that I wish I had a better word for it than scream.
Yeah.
But as soon as I heard it, I thought, "Fuck!" Like I'm dead. Like that was all I could really think was like, ugh. And it hit. It landed probably about 20 feet roughly from me, and luckily it hit sand. It didn't hit the helo pad. Now it did blow shrapnel out onto the helipad, but nobody was injured. I was fine. Um, And that was, like I said, and that was just the beginning of, like I said, close calls like that with mortars. We got hit there another day. That's when it went right over our heads. But still, once again, it, like that sound is something I can't never get out of my head. I just wish I had a better way to explain the sound of it. But but yeah, man, and that was pretty much, I think, maybe so Marine Corps does 6 month deployments. So I'm guessing my towards the last month there, so probably beginning of August, they called me back to Motor T, and they told me, they said, "Hey, we need an advance party to go back to the States. We're leaving all our trucks here. We're leaving all our gear here. We're going to need you and a handful of others to go back, get everything ready and set up for whenever we get back." So I got to come home like 3 weeks before everybody else. And just to add to the mortar story, so my last night there, it was me, one of my good buddies, Phillips, a couple other guys were all laying in this hooch. They had a hooch set aside for us that was closer to the airstrip to get us out of there in the morning. And like that classic, like, my last night here, this is what's going to happen. Like, this is going to be the one.
Yeah.
And so we're laying there, and it's way dark. Like, and I woke up, and as soon as I opened my eyes, I thought that was a mortar. And I heard it again, and they were walking them in towards the camp again. I was like, Jesus Christ, here we go. And they probably only shot 4 or 5 at us, and they stopped way before they ever got to like close to our tent. Um, but it was just funny because I was laying there in suspense, like waiting for that one. Like, they'd walked them in so close, I thought the next one's going to come right in the middle of this tent. It's going to kill us all. I thought I was the only one awake at this point. Like, I'm just laying there, and my buddy Phillips rolls over on his side on one of them big stupid green fold out. Oh, what the hell do you call them?
Like the cot?
Thank you. Good God, brain fart. But he rolls over on his cot in my direction and just leaves out the longest fart ever. He's just like, and I just started laughing, like, what? I didn't know what else to do, And he was like, they were getting pretty close that time, weren't they? And I was like, fucking right they were. I was like, dude, I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. And so that was my last night in there. But yeah, and then like I said, they flew us out. The next morning, I came home 3 weeks early. Um, my wife gave birth to my first son maybe 3 weeks later. And like I said, all them guys were getting home at that point, and so by then it was right at the beginning of 2005. Well, no, it's September, October. So yeah, so now it's around November, and I think everybody's back by now. We're just trying to get all our stuff rounded up for, um, like I said, we had to reorder all our tools, get trucks in. Um, I had picked up corporal by this point, so they stuck me in the tool room, which I spent a lot of time in the tool room, a couple months anyways. Um, and then it was pretty much just cookie cutter my last year in. I mean, we pretty much did some more support things out in Yuma. We weren't really doing anything in 29 Palms at this point, so we went out to Yuma a good bit, which was nice being an E4 by then because I got my own tent to myself. I had my own little one-man tent, and yeah, it was good times. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That last year in, it was kind of like, being young, you always bitch and complain about how time goes slow and everything's slow. But by that point, it was like, holy shit, like, I got a year left and I'm done with my enlistment already. So, you kind of went through that phase of like, well, should I reenlist? Should I, stay in? Or should I get out? And, but yeah, and I ended up, like I said, it got closer to that time. I talked to one of their retention specialists and stuff, and I'd thought about it, but I think if they would have let me just stay in the fleet a little bit longer, I'd have probably stayed in. But the way they had it set up pretty much was just saying, well, you're gonna either be a DI a combat, whatever instructor, recruiter, and it just didn't appeal to me. You know what I mean? At that point, I was still kind of stuck in that junior Marine mentality of like, well, I don't really want that kind of responsibility yet. You know what I mean? Like I still want to enjoy. So I didn't end up doing it. I didn't reenlist or anything. I think like 2 months before I got out, most of my unit, like the guys that still had less time than me or more time than me, they all got sent to Yuma for a long training mission. So I was kind of there with the broke dicks, you know, the guys that had broken foot, whatever they had wrong with them, babysitting them. I got to do a couple weeks as a PMT, primary marksman, or PMI, primary marksman instructor out at the range, which was really cool. I think if they would have offered me that for a reenlistment, I'd probably done it. But yeah, so I mean, the last year just really went fast, you know, and I don't, you know, like looking back now, it just, I mean, really fast. Like it just seemed like time just escaped real quick, and the next thing I knew, you know, it was like getting my discharge papers and heading back home, and it was like, well, shit, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, it was weird. It was weird leaving. You know, I drove in there in the night getting there in 2002, and then you know I left midday in 2000, late 2005, like December, because I had a
Yeah.
few weeks of terminal leave that I burn up, and it was just weird, you know. Like I said, when I left, all my buddies, for the most part, were all out in Yuma still doing training. A lot of the broke dicks and the guys that were just getting to the unit, they were young. They didn't, you know, I mean, they were just like, "Hi, corporal," what, you know, like robots still, you know, had that boot camp mentality. And
Do you,
I don't
let me,
know, I just left there kind of pissed, you know what I mean? It was just like fucking 4 years for this, man, just to leave without really getting to see
yeah.
anybody. And you know, and
Let,
this is pre like everybody had cell phone type days. Yeah, I mean, it was just shitty. You know, and it was
let
sad at the
me
same time.
let me ask you a question. Did you kind of feel like you needed to go back to Iraq or anything like that?
Yeah, and I did. I did end up going. So yeah,
Or,
right off the bat, like I mean, I missed it. Like as soon as I got back into the humdrum civilian life, you know, it was just, you know what I mean. It's just unfulfilling. You know what I mean. There's no excitement, nothing to really get you.
you know, you
Um,
you kind of said it right. Like you're okay. So like you come back, right? Like we're constantly chasing a rush, and it's like you come back to the garrison lifestyle, and it sucks, right?
yeah.
And you're on that fence, right? Like you either stay in or you get
Hmm.
out, you know. But like part of you still wants to go to Iraq, and like so, I forgot somebody I interviewed was like that person died over there, like me, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard when you come out. You said something a little while ago where you're like it was hard. You're angry. It's kind of sad, right?
No.
And you're just like, what do I do now? You know, and
Yeah.
I don't know what you're feeling about the Middle East at this time, but me when I came back, I was mad and I wanted to go back to fight more. So I don't know
Yeah.
how you were feeling at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I I don't know if I'd classify it as being mad, as more of it was just missing a sort of like a sense of purpose,
Yeah,
a reason, a cause. Um, you know, like I said, you go from an environment like that where every day, you know, you're thinking that, you know, today's going to be the day. You know, one of us is going to get fucked up. Something's going to go wrong, and you know, and then you come back to the whatever you want to call that, the end of your enlistment, and it's more cookie cutter, shit's back to normal, but it's boring. You know what I mean? At that point, at 23, I experienced more um,
and a lot of 23-year-olds.
a sense of living that I will never ever feel again. You know what I mean? Like a sense of, like I said, that I don't even know, like I said, how to put it into words. Like that, just that feeling of it's a rush, man. It's I hate to say it like some kind of heroin head, but like chasing the dragon. You know what I mean? Like it's you
You
want
are.
that excitement, that rush, and you know now that you get out, especially after I got out, it's like you fucking idiot, man. Like maybe you should just there's enough time. Maybe you should join up. It just rejoin but and
Yeah.
then like I said, you think of it in the ways of you know you done your time. There's a
Yeah.
million boots behind you that are going to fill them boots.
Yeah.
And like I said, thinking about like Burgess getting killed. I mean, that's he died doing what his job was. You know what I mean? His job was to be out there in front of that kind of
Right.
shit. We had one reason I think I never re-enlisted as far like I said, I did end up going back to Iraq. Um, But the reason I stayed out, I think, is because by that time I'd had my son, and right before we deployed, uh, one of my sergeants, Kristen Nacho, we always called him Nacho, Sergeant Nacho. He at that point already had like 3 kids, man, and he was a doting father. Like, dude, there'd be days where we'd be leaving base to go out to bars and drink, and he'd be out in the soccer field playing soccer with his kids. And before we deployed, he got orders. His first enlistment was up. He got orders to San Diego, and I forget what unit he was with then. Um, but he was over there at the same time as us. And it's one thing, like I said, you lose people to a combat related incident or something like that to hostility. But Nacho ended up his driver ran their Humvee off the road,
Yeah.
flipped him upside down in a wadi, and he fucking drowned. and and I think that was one reason why I just didn't crave the military, the feeling of wanting to go back military, because it was like, well, now you got a son, and if you go back over there, if you reenlist, if chances are you're gonna end up being that statistic. You know what I mean? Like that, like, and it was just like I said. I think the thing with Nacho was just tragic because he was such a good father. Um, to his kids, and that he died drowning in a place where you had to worry about getting shot and mortared or fucking your head cut off by Mujahideen, but that didn't happen. He drowned
Yeah.
upside down in the ditch, and nothing to show for, you know what I mean? And it was just,
I,
so I think at that point that's what kept me from ever going back to the military side of things. Was just Nacho dying. I think was just it fucked me up in the sense that, like I said, it was like he didn't have to die. You know what I mean? That was a preventable
yeah.
accident. I don't know. It's just that weird dichotomy. Like I don't know. Like I said, you think of it in a war sense.
The
Well, it's like, well, yeah, Mike caught a bullet to the throat. And he bled out on the battlefield. Fuck yeah, Mike flipped upside down the Humvee and drowned. That's terrible. Is what that is. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you died.
you
Uh,
I have a similar situation. One of the NCOs I knew, Sergeant Thomas, dude, we were burning stuff. Not my platoon personally, not even the same company. They were burning like trash and everything, and this guy, Staff Sergeant Thomas, he threw some JP8 fuel in a burn pit, and he caught himself on fire, and he ended up dying from like infection. So it's kind of like, I know where you're coming from. It's like they're kind of dying without a purpose, right? Like
yeah. I mean, like,
it's
it's
hard. It's a
not that
hard
it
pill to
wasn't a
swallow.
purpose. Yeah, not that it wasn't a purpose by any means. I mean, but it's just that I don't know. It was just that fear of like, what happens if that's you? You know what I mean? Like you would feel. I think I would feel my ghost would be pissed at me. You know what I mean? Like, God damn it!
Yeah.
Yeah, of all the ways.
Uh,
And that's like I said, just stuff
it,
like that. I don't know, but I still craved it. Um, so when I got out, um, I had all intentions of going to state police. Um, and that fell through because all my tattoos and stuff. At the time, Pennsylvania State Police didn't have waivers. If you had tattoos on your forearms, you couldn't go to their academy. So it was like, well, around here in the middle of nowhere, I can either work for the prison or I can go work for DOD. So I got in to DOD. I started out contracting with them. And then I eventually did get a federal job. And then in '08, we got an offer to do a 6-month tour over in Baghdad, installing counter IED antennas on Humvees and Bradleys.
Yeah.
Um, and I jumped on that. Like my wife didn't want to hear it, but it was like, look, not only am I getting double the pay, like I'm actually getting paid good for this, but I'll be safe, and it was. I mean, for the most part, it was a pretty fuck. I think we got boarded once while I was there, and it was like way far away, and people were running, and I'm just kind of standing out front of the tent chuckling, like, come on, you can get closer to that. I was all for it, like excited, and you don't get that adrenaline dump from that, but
It's a
nah, man,
different
that tour
war.
in Baghdad. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By then, dude, they had green bean coffee. They had Burger King around the corner. Like, I remember I walked into the, like, what did they call that main side of Baghdad? Shit, I can't remember. But, like, I remember I walked there and seen the size of the what do you call it? The DFAC was like, it was huge. And I was like, dude, what the, like, what is this? Like, it was like a corporate war, you know what I mean? Like, sponsored by Burger King. And like all this shit, it's like,
Yeah.
what is this war now? Like, um, and it's, and like I said, it was a world of difference too. Like I said, we weren't getting mortared anything at all. They had those helix systems or whatever they called them that would shoot shit out of the skies. We didn't have that shit. They had Humvees, and I think they were starting to get like the armor kits were already installed on the Humvees. They were starting to get them MRAPs and all that kind of shit by that time. Dude, we didn't have that. You know what I mean? We was rolling out in like soft skins and fucking sandbags on the floorboards, like for protection. You know what I mean? So
Did you
it
do
was
you
it was
feel
it
like
was good.
do you feel like
What's
this
that?
kind of did this kind of fill the void that you were missing or no?
It did, but it didn't. You know what I mean? Like it was awesome to be back in country again. Um, but just you don't have that excitement. You don't have that thrill of life
Yeah.
and death, and what I mean. For the most part, especially as a civilian, you know what I mean. You're tucked like center of the base, and so yeah, it was still good though. Like I really appreciated my time over there for that second time. Just getting to bullshit with soldiers like every day. Like I said, we was installing counter IED antennas on Bradleys. So a lot of the Bradley crews would come in, and I'd be like, "Come on, let me see some of your war trophies, man." So they dig around in there and pull out like a Browning high power that they fucking pulled off somebody, or an AK, and so it was cool just to actually get to talk to them guys, more than it ever was feeling talking to civilians that just they were there for the same thing. Like, I never served, but I got a chance to do this. So it was nice that I actually got to hang out. A lot of the times, most of my days were filled hanging out with soldiers. So it was cool,
Yeah.
I mean, just to bullshit and talk and ask them about like what the tactics were now. And so it was fulfilling. I mean, it was.
Did
I
you
enjoyed that 6 months.
do you think so I'm gonna ask you a pretty deep question here. It's like,
Yeah.
do you feel like it was the missing of the brotherhood, or was it like you said, sense of purpose, or like the fulfilling of like the great friend of yours that died in a non I don't know
Yeah.
way, you know what I mean? Like what part of that is what you were
I think,
inside?
yeah. I think,
Probably all
like I said,
three.
yeah, I mean, the fulfillment ultimately, for them, I mean, and I'm not saying that just to be cookie cutter and cutesy, but just the ability to help them guys out, because the counter IED antennas we were installing, they had a couple different models, but the one we were installing was pretty much what it would do is any of them shitheads trying to set off an IED with like a garage opener or a cell phone, it
It's
was
gonna
a
jam.
jammer. So all it did jammed signal the whole way. That in itself was righteous. Like, it was cool to know that I was doing something that was keeping these fucking guys safe and letting them do their job and kill the fuck out of the bad guy. The second thing, yes, was definitely the camaraderie, actually getting to talk to soldiers again, and bullshit and you know, have that lingo, that talk, just that vibe, you know what I mean? And then, like I said, the thing with Nacho, like I said, that always stuck in my head. But I think that was just more, like I said, just my way of convincing myself not to go back in, because it was just like I didn't, I was worried about that. Like, I was always worried, like, You know, what if you get in and it just, I mean, in whatever, name your scenario, you know, I mean, it just, but, but no, I did that 6 months over there. And I think honestly, like that was the last time I can say I truly feel like I lived, you know what I mean? Like felt like I had a purpose or,
Yeah.
you know, that drive and don't mind
Yeah.
me. I'm petting my cat. She's over here bothering me and I'm trying to keep her away from the camera.
No, you're good.
Uh,
So like logistics management, so you're doing that now, and
yeah.
you've been far removed from the last time you went to Iraq and everything like that. And
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
how are you, how
It's,
are, how are you doing now? Like, because like I won't lie to you.
I mean,
I noticed something in you when we were talking about it. Like you seemed like happy, and then you kind of seemed like, man, it was so long ago. It was like the glory days, like
yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh
Oh,
and
look
and,
at, look
and
at,
I asked this question because I met you on TikTok. Your social media is out there, and people are still struggling from this war, right? Whether it be
oh, dude,
camaraderie.
people way worse than I am. You know what I mean? Like I said, I mean, this is coming from a guy that saw limited shit. I can't imagine, you know, and I do have friends. I have friends around here. My one buddy, as a matter of fact, that lives just down the road here, you know, he was through, oh shit. Where did, I can't think of the name of the town, the city. But he was with the Grunts. I think 2-6 or 2-7 out of Lejeune. No, not 2-7. 2-7's 29 Palms. 1-6 maybe. But anyhow, you know, he's got a lot of problems. You know what I mean? Like, and it ain't just, you know, his own upstairs. It's dealing with people he lost with that whole, you know, house to house fighting and shit. Like I can't imagine. Like, dude, what some of them guys, like, I bitch about not feeling that excitement or that that
Sense of
rush
purpose. Yeah,
anymore. I can't imagine what you would even think after coming out of that kind of situation, that kind of scenario. Like, how would you ever feel that kind of excitement, that kind of rush? You know, and I guarantee you, dude, like that's how I feel for him, man, because I know how I feel, and I couldn't imagine what they're going through as far as just feeling that sense of purpose, that sense of, you know what I mean, wanting to live that life again. And you know, now a lot of these guys are, you know, like my buddy, he's probably pushing 40. I mean, he'll never do it again. He'll never, you know, the same thing. Like I said, you just, it's a
yeah,
weird, it's a weird thing, man. Like that, like I said, with what I do now, I mean, now we're talking years down the road, almost 20 years since I've gotten out now. And I got no complaints. You know what I mean, dude? I got two more kids added to the roster. Me and my wife are still married. Um, but there's always that part of me that just, I long for that same feeling again, that feeling of purpose, of, and I'm not talking purpose of being a dad, and like I know I'm rocking that shit, right? But I'm talking like a purpose, like I'm
for
not just
yourself.
wasting oxygen. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually, I miss that, man. I miss that shit every day, and I have every day since, you know what I
Yeah,
mean. I got out. I
and
just,
so like if you were gonna talk to somebody, and we have different situations. Like me, I know we were talking on the phone a little bit about the pogue and the grunt thing and everything, and
yeah,
yeah, I was a combat medic and stuff like that. But like, I didn't go to Iraq. I went to Afghanistan. But
yeah.
if you look at this timer, we've been talking for about an hour and a half. And it seems like time hasn't even gone by.
I know, yeah.
and
And about 5 more hours of this bitch.
if you
Yeah,
if you could if you're sitting with somebody that was like, "Hey, Mike, I'm missing it too. How have you made it this far?" Like, what would you tell them?
yeah. I don't know, man. Determination, I guess. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not greedy. I don't want to live forever. But,
Yeah,
you know, when I say determination, you know, I'm determined to see my kids grow up, move on, do their thing, you know, get out and live their life. I don't know, man. Like I said, I guess that's the best way I can say it. Just determination. Just
yeah,
determined to keep pushing on. I mean, just
yeah.
you know.
Cause like me, like I dealt with a lot of problems and stuff, and I still struggle a lot till today. But I realize that I can't put my problems on my kid or
Yeah,
or my wife or my parents or other people for that
yeah,
matter. And
yeah,
it is tough, as a man, especially in society nowadays.
yeah.
Um,
Everybody expects you to just suck it up
yeah,
and keep trucking on, and you ain't the one to sit there and whine and bitch. Nobody wants to hear, Mike
yeah,
Gregory bitch. I
yeah.
get you, man. I know.
I I appreciate this conversation. We're coming up on the end of it, and I it took a lot for you to come on here, right? I know we were
Yeah.
talking, and I hope it shows the other. I've hit up a lot of people, and a lot of people have hit me up, right? Until they start seeing
Mm,
some of the clips, and they're like, "Well, I didn't do, I didn't do this, I didn't do that." I'm like, dude, it's not that.
yeah.
I was like, I don't. Me, you haven't heard anything out of me. Like, I don't judge. I don't say anything. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of let this be an outlet.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know for you if you felt like it has been, and
Yeah. It's nice, dude. Like I said, what I've just told you in the short hour and a half that we've talked, man, like it's more than I've ever probably told anybody. You know what I mean? About my time, about ever doing anything I ever did. I mean, most people I work with the exception of a few, like I said, I work with a few jarheads and a few army guys, former army, and we can sit there and swap little short stories and shit. But dude, I've never my wife, my kids, my mom, dad, they've never heard any of these stories. Like I never felt a reason to tell them these stories or tell them about people or you know what I mean? Because I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of like that. You want to just have that story to yourself. You know what I mean? Like that
everyone gets
experience.
you.
But yeah, you know what I mean. But at the same time, like after talking to you before, like when we was just kind of going back and forth on Messenger and stuff, like I figured hell with it, man. Like, dude, get your story out there because you never know. Like, there might be somebody out there that feels the same way. It's like, okay, what's it? You know what I mean? Like, I hope this it influences a few people to open up more and tell their story. Because I mean, sometimes it's good to get that shit off your chest or explain how you feel or how you felt about that. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I'm just not, I'm not Mr. Feeling Share. I usually don't, like you said, I usually don't, share
Yeah,
what I think.
for sure.
But
Yeah. Well, Mike, I appreciate this conversation. If you do you have any
yeah,
questions for me or anything like that, man?
nah, dude, I'm looking forward to the day where we get to interview you, man.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking me. They're like, "When are you gonna do your own?" I'm like, "Dude, I gotta find someone that can do it first." Like, and
Yeah,
dude, it's actually really hard. Like, it took me like I told you, I was like, I don't know how it's gonna go. I did one yesterday.
yeah,
I told the guy the same thing. I was like, I don't have really a flow. I just kind of I think I have a pretty good niche for like just talking to people. And dude, honestly, like I was like, man, I don't know how fast it's gonna go, how long it's gonna go. And I saw you opening up
yeah.
more, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy.
Yeah, yeah. Nah,
Yeah,
man. Like you said, I'm really glad we did this because I was really leery there yesterday. I was like, oh my god, here we go. We're gonna, like I don't want to do this, but I'm glad I did though, man. I really am.
yeah,
It's good. Like I said, it's. I think just like I said, the ability to get stories out of guys that were over there, get feelings and emotions and stories. I mean, that's it's awesome, man. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
people can hear it firsthand and know what it was like.
yeah.
So
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Gregory, thank you so much, brother, and we'll
yeah,
talk to you
man.
later.
All right, man. Take
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Once again, please subscribe, share this content. If you have anybody that you wish to get onto the show, please send them my way. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.